Every relationship has its own rhythm, its own rules, and its own quiet understanding. In the landscape of marriage, one of the most quietly debated topics is why some wives go to great lengths to please their husbands in specific ways that may seem traditional, self-sacrificing, or even old-fashioned to outside observers. Yet, to these women, their choices often feel natural, fulfilling, and purposeful. Understanding the reasoning behind these choices requires stepping into their shoes, listening without judgment, and exploring the deeper emotional and psychological layers that shape human connection. For many women, choosing to please their husbands is not about submission or lack of independence. It's often rooted in love, affection, and a deep desire to nurture the relationship. From small acts of kindness like cooking his favorite meal to larger gestures like supporting him through career decisions or family issues, these efforts come from a place of wanting to make life smoother, more joyful, and more stable for the one they love. It's not so much about putting themselves second as it is about giving energy to the bond they cherish most. When a woman sees her husband smile or relax after a long day because of something she did, that moment brings her satisfaction too. There's a unique kind of happiness that some wives feel when they know they've contributed to their husband's peace. It's not uncommon to hear a woman say, "If he's okay, I'm okay," not because she lacks a sense of self, but because his comfort enhances hers. In some ways, their emotional well-being is intertwined. They aren't living solely for their husband's happiness, but his happiness is an important thread in the fabric of their own. This form of emotional reciprocity isn't weakness, it's connection. In many cultures, upbringing plays a significant role. From an early age, girls may be taught that part of being a good wife includes taking care of their husband's needs. This cultural script often shapes their adult relationships, but it's not always a passive adoption. Many women consciously choose to uphold these values because they genuinely believe in them, or because they've seen them work in strong, lasting marriages around them. They may have watched their own mothers or grandmothers honor their husbands in small, daily ways and see it not as subjugation but as an expression of commitment and strength. For others, the motivation is deeply personal and not necessarily tied to culture or tradition. Some women are naturally giving, caretaking personalities. Just as some people enjoy hosting guests, taking care of children, or helping friends solve problems, these women feel alive when they're making life better for their spouse. It's a form of generosity that's less about obligation and more about identity. Pleasing their husband feels like a reflection of who they are, not what they're expected to be. Then there's the dynamic of admiration. Some wives deeply admire their husbands, not just romantically, but intellectually, spiritually, or even professionally. When you deeply respect someone, it's natural to want to support them, to lift them up, and to contribute to their success and joy. In this context, pleasing the husband is not about bowing down. It's about standing beside someone you believe in, someone whose life you want to make better because you believe they deserve it. In many modern relationships, there's also a negotiation of roles, and for some couples, this results in traditional dynamics where the wife takes on more nurturing roles while the husband leads in other areas. These arrangements, when mutual and respectful, can bring satisfaction to both partners. The key is that they are chosen, not forced. Some wives find fulfillment in managing the emotional tone of the home, tending to the family's needs, and creating an environment of common warmth. For them, this is not a burden but a source of pride. They are the emotional anchor, the quiet strength, and they value the sense of purpose that comes from playing that role. Of course, physical intimacy can also be a part of how some wives choose to please their husbands. This, too, is a subject that often gets misunderstood or mischaracterized. When a wife prioritizes physical affection or goes out of her way to be desirable to her husband, it is often read as submission or duty. But in many cases, it's actually an act of connection. A woman who chooses to be physically present, emotionally attentive, or sexually expressive may be doing so because she enjoys the closeness, the intimacy, and the bond it creates. Pleasing her husband in this way is, for her, a form of intimacy that enhances both their experiences. It's not just about his satisfaction, it's about mutual fulfillment. It's also important to acknowledge that pleasing someone isn't always about grand gestures. Sometimes it's about timing, tone, and attentiveness. A wife might know her husband has had a hard day and chooses to hold back her own stress until he's ready to talk. She might know he likes silence instead of conversation after work and offers that without needing recognition. These small adjustments are quiet, often invisible, but they are choices made with love. They show an emotional intelligence, a level of attunement to the other person that can't be taught in any manual but is felt deeply in a relationship. There's also the reality that some wives are motivated by stability. When they please their husbands, they may be trying to reduce conflict, maintain peace in the home, or avoid emotional disconnection. While this can sound negative, it's often a complex blend of self-preservation and care for the family unit. For these women, their actions are rooted in a desire to maintain harmony, not because they are afraid, but because they value unity. Pleasing their husband becomes a strategy, not of fear, but a vision, to keep the family cohesive, to shield the children from unnecessary stress, or to simply keep the emotional environment of the home balanced. But not all wives who choose to please their husbands do so out of affection or admiration alone. Some have learned through experience that their efforts lead to appreciation, love, and attention in return. Relationships are a cycle, and often, when one person puts in the effort, the other responds. A wife who makes her husband's life easier or more pleasant may find that he, in turn, becomes more present, more helpful, or more affectionate. In that way, her choice to please him is also a way of influencing the relationship dynamic for the better. It's also worth considering the role of communication. Some wives may simply be more attuned to expressing love through service or support, and if their husbands receive love that way, the feedback loop reinforces it. Love languages play a part here too. If a husband's primary love language is acts of service or physical touch, and his wife naturally leans into those areas, it creates harmony. Pleasing him isn't about giving up her needs, it's about giving love in the way he understands best. And when he returns that love in her language, whether it's words of affirmation or quality time, the relationship thrives. And sometimes, it's not about the man at all, it's about her. Some wives find strength, identity, and peace in being the giver. It's how they process their own emotions, how they stay connected to themselves. For them, pleasing their husband is not an act of erasure, but of grounding. It gives them a role they understand, a space in the relationship where they feel impactful. The gesture is more than its surface meaning, it's a reflection of who they want to be. It would be dishonest to ignore that some women do these things out of pressure, fear, or conditioning. There are relationships where the balance is off, where the wife gives far more than she receives, where pleasing the husband is an obligation rather than a choice. These are not the relationships being honored here. The focus is on those women who choose, with agency and clarity, to make their husband's happiness a part of their own. In a world that often praises independence, individualism, and assertiveness, especially among women, these wives might be misread or misunderstood. But in reality, their choices are no less valid, no less powerful. Their strength lies not in how loudly they declare it, but in how quietly they live it. They are women who have found meaning in connection, purpose in giving, and joy in creating peace for the person they love. They are not martyrs, not relics of the past, and not defined by stereotypes. They are simply women making deliberate choices in how they love. At the heart of it all is a simple truth: pleasing someone you love, in a way that feels right to you, is not weakness, it's devotion. Whether through emotional attentiveness, physical care, acts of service, or simply choosing to prioritize the well-being of their spouse, these women are not just serving their husbands, they are nurturing the bond they value most. And that is a choice worthy of understanding, respect, and sometimes, quiet admiration.